Hello and welcome. It is the 22nd annual Garden State Film Festival. The weekend of March 21st to the 24th, we will have 200 films from over 14 countries. I am here with director and writer Jessica Aquila Zimmerman and playing the role Papa, Aina O'Dowd of the short film The Stairs. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. Please talk a bit about The Stairs to our live viewers.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
We're so excited to be here, and we're so excited to go to the festival in March. So The Stairs is a short film about a daughter of immigrants living in a tenement building in Red Hook in Brooklyn in 1968. And it's about tenement living. It's about being kind of on top of each other as they were in the late 60s, early 70s. I mean, and even before that with the mass immigration in New York in the 20th century. But it's also about the kind of stifling, it's about being a little girl, and the stifling authority of male presence in her life, church presence in her life. Does she get a voice? How does she vocalize what's going on with her? She is being she is kind of prey at this point to this male figure in her life, until her mom and this woman who lives on her floor, who is kind of this old world Italian healer, save her through it's very kind of the power of women coming together to save her and give her a voice.
What inspired you to write this compelling story?
Well, my mom happens to be from Red Hook, and she happened to grow up in a tenement building in Brooklyn, and she has a million stories of this that I've grown up hearing, and this is not her story necessarily, but she witnessed stuff like this. She witnessed this sort of thing happening, and she actually did have a Mrs. Teruli living on her floor. We didn't even change her name, and she would perform the malocchio ceremony on anybody who was sick or had ailments. It was this olive oil kind of ceremony. It was the evil eye, right? And if you had the evil eye, she would break it, right? It's very like old world pagan Italian, right? Yeah. So, and that game is real. The chair game. She would play that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Yeah.
So,
Anything they could do to hurt themselves.
well, I mean, I feel like that's just children. But
Yeah.
what was this filming process like for you? Can you touch upon maybe, like what your favorite part of the process was with filming, and maybe the most challenging part of the process of filming?
So yes, this is my first time that I've written and directed a short and or a project at all. And so that was really exciting, from the script to getting it up on picture, and that was really kind of the best, most exciting part of it, because I was able to be malleable with the words if I needed to be, and I was able to know exactly kind of what I wanted, because I wrote it, and getting everybody inside my head was really fun. So I was storyboarded, to get people into like the vision, and then of course working with actors is just my bread and butter. So that was great. I will say one of the more challenging things was not working with the kids, but working with the time constraints that kids come with, because they can only work for like 7 hours out of the day. So every time beautiful, amazing Briella, every time she was done with a thing, with a shot or with a take or whatever, we would rush her into her holding room, so that she could rest, What about you?
I mean, yeah, I've had the luxury of seeing a few things, seeing a few different scales of projects, and working with many different people, and just watching. Because Jess and I have worked together for a while. We run a theater company together, and
that's our background.
Yeah, and we're married, so we work together. But seeing her start this project and seeing how it grew, it wasn't just. I might get a little bit emotional because it's early in the morning here for me. But seeing the process of her starting writing the script and seeing that kind of drive in her, and then actually like pushing it to execute and to shoot this all in one location over 2.5 days, 3 days, even for a short with the time constraints of kids. Seeing her do that was incredible. I don't know many directors who could do it with the poise that she did, and always with the respect of the entirety of the crew. And it was amazing to see. Just as another professional, it was incredible to watch.
Yeah, and so speaking on that bread and butter, where did you find your cast and crew?
Well, we had an amazing casting
Mhm.
director, Lisa Zagoria. She's
Yeah.
incredible. She found us these kids. We actually held auditions. We held auditions for the kids,
Mhm.
all the kids, and the mom, Mary. And then obviously I gotta say, Papa had the job, he had the gig. And Aina is actually from Ireland. So I wrote a mixed family, Irish Italian, and he had the idea on set actually. Instead of when Briella's character Rose is alone with him, she calls him Da as opposed to Papa, because that's, so she kind of honors both sides of her family when she's with each parent. It's kind of, it was a beautiful idea. And so, and then Guy Narduli, who plays Mario, I knew him from years and years ago, just doing theater in LA and doing projects in LA. And I actually called him and offered him the role and said, "Hey, can you do this?" And he reluctantly, because playing this role of a deacon who's preying upon a little girl is not the easiest. And he did it with grace, and he did it with such playfulness, in between takes and stuff. But so yeah, and then Jane Taini, who plays Mrs. Cerulli, she was also an offer. And we called up her agent and we sent the script, and she was interested, and we were so grateful to have her. So it was a mix of offers, auditions, and somebody that I've worked with, and will continue to work with forever.
You need a little bit of nepotism. But I do want to, like, on that, because I know Nepo is the big thing right now. But
it's a bit of a different,
from the get-go, there was the conversation of should Papa be Italian or Irish, and I was proponing for him being Italian. But Jess made a very good point of it shows the immigrant story that existed in New York at the time across two like subsects that necessarily didn't get along in Brooklyn.
Yep. So you have a mixed family. That's crazy, at the time.
And so the isolation that might have been there for the children, on top of not only being, lower working class, but then having a mixed family in a community that's predominantly like culturally centric, if you're Irish or Italian, it adds a little bit more to the story that I honestly didn't, until reading the script with the adjustments, and see that it really did just tell a whole different kind of spectrum to it, and showed something that Briella grasped like intrinsically. And I will say, she's
a star. She's a
incredible.
Star. Like this is the girl who plays Rose, the lead. She's so instinctual and like such an engine on her.
Very lucky to find her and for her to say yes. Very lucky.
And her family. Yeah.
So what is it that you want your audience to take away when they walk out of the theater after your film screens? What do you want them to take away from this film?
Ultimately, how it ends is hopeful. How it ends is, a group of women all grasping hands and saying, we are going to get through this kind of silently together, and it's the hope that strength and sisterhood and honoring your voice will save you, sort of thing. So it is hopeful at the end. And then I think just maybe a little more understanding of the pagan Italian culture that we might not really know about, these rituals and the kind of earthy ceremonies and stuff that come with Italian culture. Because when we think Italian, we think Catholic. There's so much more nuance.
Yeah. So with that said, would you say that as a director, as a writer, as an actor, Anna, how would you say, what does your inspiration come from? Like, what would you say? Like, are there other directors or film styles or acting styles that really inspire you as a director, writer, and as an actor?
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, you know, there are so many amazing female directors that I am inspired
Mhm.
by. I mean, Emerald Fennell, Zoe Lister-Jones, you know, obviously Greta, like, and then you have like the Agnes Vardas of the world, you know, like it's so, and the icons Catherine Bigelow and Sophia Coppola. I take inspiration so much from all of them. I grew up, I was a theater rat. So I grew up with, you know, I grew up with musicals. I grew up with Sondheim. I grew up with, you know, all of the like kind of grand, you know, I mean, Singing in the Rain for me is one of the more perfect kind of combos of what theater and film could be together.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I think it's probably in my view like one of the more perfect movies ever made. And so, but then I think that about like Midsommar too. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
like, you
Mhm.
know, and so those are my inspirations. I'm a painter as well, so I'm very visual.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so, you know, movies like Pan's Labyrinth were a big inspiration for this film.
Mhm.
A Little Princess, Alfonso Cuarón's A Little Princess, the
Yeah.
97. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was the first thing my DP Ali Schultz and I talked about. She was like, "You know, I'm getting this vibe." And I was like, "Are you serious? That's like the biggest compliment you could have ever given me." And right away I was like, "Hello, you're my best friend." So like right away I was like, don't compare me to Little Princess. But so yeah, so you know, I take inspiration from painters that I love and books that I love and old musicals and really anything that helps you come away from a performance or a film or an experience with a different perspective. If I know that that I can give somebody a different perspective, or if I have learned something, then I know that it's been a success. You know, so that's. I hope that answered your question.
And for me, I don't know. For me, it's I've just grown up watching amazing work, and I had the luxury of going to drama school and going to a master's and working with some amazing teachers in Sligo in Ireland, and like a burgeoning drama school there, and it was just incredible. And then meeting her in Glasgow in the Royal Scottish Academy, or sorry, the Royal Conservatoire Scotland
That's where we
now.
did our masters.
But just the luxury of seeing such amazing teachers and dramaturgs that like would inspire you to go deeper into understanding that what we do as, you know, actors is by proxy storytelling, which has been around for as long as we could imagine things. And so I guess to not get too highfalutin or poetic about too Irish about this, I mean, I get inspiration from just watching people, seeing
Mhm.
people interact, talking to friends, seeing how a story like this that can stay with somebody from their childhood, that just by
Mhm.
observing it is a story that needs to be told because other people are going to resonate to it, whether directly or indirectly. And seeing actors like, I mean, obviously I'm going to be biased and talk about the Irish actors that I grew up watching. So like Killian Murphy is just incredible. Andrew Scott, just these
Mhm.
beautiful actors, and then like Carey Mulligan and Michaela Cole, and these incredible actors from the UK and Ireland that have just inspired by going to the simplest choice, which is what is that human experience.
Colomini.
Colin
We
Meaney,
finally got to see him on stage a couple years
yeah,
ago.
and it was incredible. Colin's fantastic, and
Yeah.
the Gleasons, Brian Gleason and Brendan and Donal, and yeah, I'm very lucky in terms of the culture I'm from has such a deep understanding of theater and acting and performing and storytelling, and so I think that's what drew me to it anyway.
Mhm.
But that's a long way to say just human experience. And
Oh, it was,
very
yeah.
happy. Yeah.
Well, before we get things wrapped up, do you guys have any future plans for the film?
Yes. So this so as I said, you know, I grew up with so many of these stories. My mom grew up in Red Hook. My dad grew up in Bensonhurst. So it's you know, I have both of these, and he comes from kind of the Polish Jewish side of things. So he has a
Mhm.
bunch of stories too. So um I want to make an anthology feature with little
Ooh.
short stories. The Stairs
Mhm.
will be one of them. I've already written a couple of the other ones, and a lot of them are really funny. I know The Stairs
Yeah.
can get really, like, dark at times, and it is still, please do come watch it. It's still so beautiful. But
March
um
23rd.
yes. Um a lot of them are so unbelievably funny, and you really wouldn't ever think that they actually happen. So yeah, I want to make an anthology feature of shorts, kind of like The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, or New York I Love You, or any of those. Yeah.
Well, that sounds amazing, and I can't wait for it. And you guys, you can check out The Stairs at the Kingsley Ballroom in the Berkeley Hotel on Saturday, March 23rd during the 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. block. Jessica and
Aina.
Aina.
There
Aina.
you go.
Yeah.
You got it.
Aina. I hope to see you at the Garden State Film Festival this year, where there are 200 films screening across 8 venues, including hosting parties, panels, events, and more. Guys, get your tickets at gsff.org/tickets. I'm your host, Emily DeSimone, and thank you both so much for joining me. It has been such a pleasure, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. You too. Bye.